world, to Elara, was a symphony, not of blaring horns or crashing cymbals, but of the softest, most intricate hums and whispers. She heard the sleepy murmur of the ancient roots beneath Viridian hearth, a low, resonant thrum that pulsed like a slow heart. She heard the shimmering chimes of dewdrop spiders weaving their morning gossamer, each strand a tiny, vibrant note. She heard the sigh of the wind through the sky birch leaves, a rustle that carried the scent of rain even on the clearest days. And most of all, she heard the whis. The whis was not a sound in the ordinary sense. It was the underlying resonance of magic itself, the gentle, constant vibration that permeated every pebble, every leaf, every breath in the Hollowdrift Valley. It was the silent song that made the Glimmerbrook sparkle with inner light, that gave the bloom petals their impossible shifting colors, and allowed the village's hearthfires to burn with a warmth that felt like a living embrace. For as long as Elara, with her 11 summers, could remember, the whis had been the comforting, ever-present heartbeat of her world. Viridian Hearth was a village woven into the very fabric of the valley. Its homes were carved from the enormous moss-covered trunks of ancient sky birch trees, their branches forming natural canopies that filtered the sunlight into dappled emerald patterns. Wooden bridges, adorned with trailing sunvines, arced between the treehouses, connecting the community like an intricate, living web. Lanterns enchanted with captured fireflies glowed softly at night, painting the twisting paths with warm, dancing light. Every morning, Elara would wake in her small, cozy room, high in the oldest sky birch, to the cheerful chirps of twill birds and the distant rhythmic thud of the hearthstones being tended. Her own magic was a quiet, unassuming thing, much like herself. She could coax the sweetest melodies from the wind through a simple reed flute, causing flowers to sway in gentle unison. She could mend a torn leaf with a touch, knitting its veins back together with a soft green glow. Her grandmother, Elara, who was the village's most respected hearthkeeper and a powerful weaver of weather spells, often said Elara had the ears of the whis. It was a compliment Elara cherished, for it acknowledged the unique way she perceived the world. One crisp morning, as the first rays of the sun painted the eastern peaks in hues of rose and gold, Elara descended the winding root ladder from her home. Her task for the day was to collect sky dew from the topmost leaves of the bloom petal grove. Sky dew harvested only at dawn was essential for the village's healing salves and for polishing the light crystals that kept the hearth fires glowing. The bloom petal grove was a wonder. Here, flowers the size of dinner plates pulsed with colors that shifted like a dream, from deep indigo to fiery crimson, then to a startling silver, all within a single breath. They did not simply reflect light, they imitated it, a soft internal luminescence that made the air shimmer. As Elara stepped into the grove, her woven basket on her arm, she paused. Something was different. The colors of the bloom petals, usually so vibrant, so aggressively alive, seemed muted. The indigo was a shade less deep, the crimson, a touch duller, the silver, almost gray. And the light, that ethereal glow, was fainter, as if seen through a film of morning mist. Elara frowned, her brow furrowing in concentration. She closed her eyes, trying to attune herself to the whis. Usually, the whis in the bloom petal grove was a joyful, effervescent hum, 1,000 tiny voices singing in harmony, each note a burst of color and light. Today it was quieter. A soft, almost melancholic drone, like a song sung under a heavy cloak. She reached out, her fingers brushing the velvety surface of a bloom petal. Its usual energetic pulse, a subtle vibration that tingled against her skin, was weak. Faint, dirty. "Are you feeling all right, little one?" she whispered to the flower. The bloom petal didn't respond in its usual way. A gentle shudder, a slight deepening of its hue in acknowledgement. It simply sat there, its light flickering uncertainly. Elara collected the sky dew, her movements slower than usual. Each pearlescent drop, usually sparkling with inner light, seemed just a little less bright. She tried to dismiss it. Perhaps it was just a particularly cool morning, or the lingering shadows of a cloud. But the feeling of disquiet clung to her. Later that day, she brought the sky dew to Elara, who was stirring a pot of simmering herbs over the main hearthstone. The hearthstone, a massive, smooth boulder at the heart of the village, glowed with a steady, golden warmth, its magic radiating outwards to nourish the surrounding trees, and keep the village safe. Elara, with her silver braids woven with dried herbs and her eyes the color of ancient forest pools, hummed a soft tune as she worked. "Ah, Elara, my little dew collector," Lyra smiled, taking the basket. "Perfect timing. These moon thistle roots need a good sky dew bath." As Lyra tipped the glistening drops into a wooden basin, Elara watched, a knot forming in her stomach. The sky dew usually infused the water with a delicate, ethereal shimmer, its magic dissolving into the liquid with a soft, audible hiss that was almost a sigh. Today, there was barely a ripple. The water remained largely clear, and the bee hissy was so faint, Elara almost missed it. "Grandmother," Elara began tentatively, "did you notice anything different about the bloom petals this morning, or the sky dew?" Lyra stirred the moonthistle roots, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Different, dear heart. They seemed their usual selves to me. Perhaps a bit sleepy, as is often the case on a cool morning." She chuckled softly. "You and your keen ears, always finding things others miss." Elara felt a familiar pang of frustration. Adults often dismissed her unique perceptions, attributing them to a child's imagination. But this wasn't imagination. This was, quieting. Over the next few days, the subtle changes continued, and Elara's unease deepened. The Twillbird songs, once a riot of joyful trills, became simpler, less complex. The scent of the sunbloom tea, usually a heady mix of honey and spiced warmth, was noticeably milder. Even the hearth fire in their own tree home, which usually crackled with cheerful energy, seemed a little dimmer, its warmth slightly less penetrating. One evening, Elara was practicing her flute by the Glimmer Brook. The brook was famed for its luminous waters, which glowed with an internal light, especially at dusk, when tiny, iridescent fish called shimmer scales darted through its depths, leaving trails of light. Tonight, however, the brook's glow was faint, almost watery. The shimmer scales, usually a dazzling display, were barely visible, their light trails like faded ribbons. She tried to play her favorite melody, the Song of the Whispering Willows, a tune that usually made the willow branches dip and sway in time, their leaves rustling with a soft, sympathetic murmur. She closed her eyes, focusing on the Whis, trying to draw its energy into her music. But the connection felt thin, like a thread stretched too fine. Her notes, usually so clear and resonant, seemed to dissipate quickly, swallowed by the growing quiet. The willows barely stirred. A soft splash broke her concentration. A small, furry creature with luminous eyes and long, sensitive whiskers emerged from the shadows beneath a mossy bank. It was a glimmer hedge, a creature known for its affinity for the brook's magic and its shy, gentle nature. This particular glimmer hedge, whom Elara called Pipit, often listened to her music. Pipit usually had a vibrant, almost electric glow around its quills, a testament to the magic it absorbed from the Glimmer Brook. Tonight, its quills were dull, and its luminous eyes held a faint, bewildered sadness. It sniffed the air, its whiskers twitching, then let out a small, mournful chirp. "Pipit," Elara whispered, lowering her flute. "What's wrong?" The glimmer hedge whined, a sound so tiny it was almost inaudible, and rubbed its head against Elara's ankle, a gesture of unusual distress. It then shuffled towards the brook, dipped its nose into the water, and drew back quickly, letting out another plaintive sound. It seemed to be saying, "What the water is not right. The magic is gone." Elara knelt, her heart aching. If even the glimmer hedge felt it, then it wasn't her imagination. Something was truly amiss. The Whis was fading. The next morning, Elara resolved to find answers. She bypassed her usual chores and headed to the great library, located in the broadest part of the oldest skybirch. The library wasn't a silent, dusty place, but a living marvel. Books were not bound in leather, but woven from preserved leaves and bark, their pages filled with luminous ink that pulsed with soft light when read. Scrolls were kept in hollowed-out gourds, sealed with beeswax and fragrant herbs. The library was overseen by Master Eldrin, an ancient scholar whose beard was as white as mountain snow, and whose spectacles were crafted from polished quartz. He was usually found poring over some ancient text, muttering to himself about forgotten enchantments. Elara approached him cautiously. "Master Eldrin?" He peered over his spectacles, his eyes twinkling. "Ah, Elara. Come to delve into the mysteries of the moon moths, perhaps? Or the lost art of speaking with stones?" "No, Master Eldrin," Elara said, her voice serious. "I'm looking for anything about the quietening or the fading of magic." Eldrin raised a bushy eyebrow. "The quietening, an interesting phrase. The world has its ebbs and flows, child. Magic is not a static thing. Sometimes the currents are strong, sometimes they are gentle." "But this feels different," Elara insisted. "The bloom petals are dull. The sky dew has less light. The glimmerbrook is faint. Even Pippet is sad." Eldrin hummed, stroking his beard. "Pippet, you say? The glimmer hedges are sensitive creatures. Perhaps a slight shift in the water's mineral composition, or a particularly chilly spring." "No," Elara said firmly. "It's the Whis. It's fading. I can feel it. I can hear it, or rather I can hear its absence." Eldrin paused, his eyes losing their twinkle and gaining a thoughtful, distant look. He studied Elara for a long moment, then slowly rose from his stool. "The Whis, you say? That is a name not often spoken aloud in these modern times, a name from the oldest tales." He led her to a secluded alcove, filled with scrolls that seemed particularly ancient, their leaf pages brittle with age. He carefully selected one, its binding of faded green moss. He unrolled it slowly, revealing script so delicate it seemed woven from cobwebs. "There is a legend, Elara," Eldrin began, his voice dropping to a low murmur, a very old one, whispered only by the most ancient trees and the deepest rivers. "It speaks of a time before time, when the world was new and raw, and in that time there was only the Whis." Elara leaned closer, her heart thrumming with anticipation. "The Whis, the legend tells us, is the very breath of creation, the primal hum that brought forth light and life and magic. It is not a spell, nor a creature, nor a place. It is the underlying song of existence itself. Every magical creature, every enchanted plant, every spell cast draws its essence from the Whis." He traced a faded diagram on the scroll, a swirling vortex of light from which countless lines radiated outwards, connecting to symbols of trees, animals, and stars. "When the Whis is strong, the world flourishes. Colors are vibrant, magic is potent, and life sings. But the legend also speaks of a great fear, a shadow that could one day fall upon the world, the quietening of the Whis." "What causes it to quieten?" Elara asked, her voice barely a whisper. Eldrin sighed, a sound like dry leaves rustling. "The legends are vague on this. Some say it is when the hearts of the folk grow cold, and they forget the connection to the earth. Others whisper of a great imbalance, a disturbance in the ancient weave of magic. Still others speak of a particular place, a source from which the Whis flows most strongly, and if that source were ever to be dimmed, then the entire world would feel its fading." Elara thought of the dull bloom petals, the silent glimmerbrook, Pippet's sadness. And what happens if it fades completely? Eldrin's gaze grew distant, solemn. "The legends say that if the Whis were to ever fall silent, the world would lose its magic. The glimmerbrook would run clear, the bloom petals would be but ordinary flowers, the hearth fires would be mere smoke. The colors would drain from the world, and all would become gray and still. Life would continue. Yes, but without its vibrancy, its wonder, its very soul." A chill ran down Elara's spine, colder than any winter wind. A world without magic? Without the Whis? It was an unbearable thought. It was like imagining a songbird without a voice, a river without water. "Is there a way to restore it?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Eldrin paused, turning his gaze back to the ancient scroll. He pointed to a small, almost invisible symbol at the very edge of the diagram, a single, looping spiral, distinct from the others. "The legends hint at a heart of the Whis, a place of profound stillness and power, where the Whis first entered the world. It is said that if the heart of the Whis could be rekindled, its song would once again resonate throughout all creation." "Where is it?" Elara pressed, her eyes wide. Eldrin shook his head slowly. "That, my dear Elara, is the greatest mystery. The legends give no map, no clear directions. They speak only of the place where the first starlight fell, or the cradle of the ancient hum. Some say it lies beyond the whispering peaks, in the lost lands of the Evermist. Others believe it is hidden in the very depths of the dreaming woods, a place few dare to tread. Elara looked at the ancient scroll, then at the gentle, worried face of Master Eldrin. She thought of the subtle, unsettling changes she had observed, the growing quiet that only she seemed to truly perceive. If the Whis was truly fading, and if the heart of the Whis was the only hope, then someone had to find it. Someone had to try. "I have to go," she said, her voice firm, resolute. Eldrin blinked, surprised. "Go where, child?" "To find the heart of the Whis," Elara declared, her small hands clenching into fists. "I can hear its absence. Perhaps I can hear its source, too. If no one else can hear the quiet, then no one else will know how urgent it is." Eldrin studied her, his gaze penetrating, assessing. He saw not just a child, but a spirit aflame with determination, a heart attuned to the very pulse of the world. The path to such a place, if it exists, would be fraught with peril, Elara. It would take you far from Viridian Hearth into lands unknown and untamed. "But the Whis needs help," Elara insisted, her eyes shining with an unwavering conviction. "And if I truly have the ears of the Whis, then perhaps it is telling me to listen and to act." A slow smile spread across Eldrin's face, a rare and gentle expression. He nodded. "Perhaps it is, Elara. Perhaps it is." He carefully re-rolled the ancient scroll. "There is much to learn and much to prepare. The journey will be long and the challenges great, but perhaps, just perhaps, a small heart with keen ears is exactly what the world needs right now." That night, Elara lay in her bed, not with the usual comforting hum of the Whis, but with a new sound, the quiet whisper of adventure, calling her name. The world was growing silent, and she, a small girl with a flute and sensitive ears, was about to embark on a quest to find its song again. Her heart pounded, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She knew she couldn't stay. The Whis was calling, and she had to answer. She slipped from her small cottage like a shadow made of moonlight, her worn leather satchel slung over one shoulder. Inside, carefully wrapped in a soft cloth, was her wooden flute. Around it, she'd packed a few slices of dried apple, a chunk of hearty bread, and a small flask of cool spring water. The air outside was unnaturally still, the kind of quiet that pressed in on your ears, making the blood rush in your own head sound like a distant river. This was the true silence she had come to dread, the absence of the Whis. Under a sky dusted with a million indifferent stars, Elara took her first step into the unknown. The familiar path that led from her village, past the whispering willow grove, and towards the rolling hills, felt alien without the gentle hum of life that usually accompanied it. The willow branches hung limp, their leaves unrustling, like silent sentinels mourning the loss of their song. Usually, the Whis would weave through them, a soft sigh of peace. Now, there was only the cold night air. A shiver, not entirely from the chill, traced its way down Elara's spine. Fear was a cold knot in her stomach, but it was quickly overshadowed by a fierce resolve. The Whis was calling. She couldn't hear it with her ears anymore, but she felt it in the deep, quiet place of her heart, a yearning, a faint echo of what once was. It pulsed like a distant star, guiding her, urging her onward. She walked for hours, the moon tracing an arc across the sky. The rolling hills, usually alive with the soft rustle of wind through tall grasses and the chirping of unseen creatures, were now an expanse of muted shadows. She saw no fireflies, heard no crickets. Even the soft thud of her own boots seemed too loud in the oppressive stillness. As dawn began to paint the eastern sky in hues of rose and lavender, Elara found herself at the edge of the sunken mire, a place whispered about in hushed tones by the villagers. It was said to be a place where the earth drank the light, where ancient secrets slumbered beneath a perpetual mist. Normally, the mire was avoided, its deep pools and shifting grounds too treacherous. But Elara knew its old legends spoke of a faint, almost forgotten song that sometimes rose from its depths, a song said to be the very first note of the world. Perhaps the Whis began there. The mist of the mire was thick and pearlescent, clinging to the skeletal branches of gnarled trees that clawed at the sky. Each step was a gamble, her boots sinking slightly into the damp, mossy ground. The silence here was even heavier, damp and suffocating. It felt as though the very air had forgotten how to move. Suddenly a flicker of movement, a tiny spark of silver, caught Elara's eye. It was near a cluster of ancient, twisted roots, half submerged in a shallow pool. Curiosity overriding her caution, Elara carefully picked her way closer. There, caught in a tangle of thorny vines, was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. It was no bigger than her thumb, resembling a miniature moth, but its wings were spun from pure moonlight, shimmering with an inner luminescence. Its body was a delicate spiral of iridescent green. This was a Lumina sprite, a creature of pure sound and light, whose very existence was a tiny, constant hum. She had only ever seen illustrations of them in the dusty books of the village lorekeeper. But this Lumina sprite was struggling. Its wings fluttered weakly, its light dimming, pulsing faintly like a dying ember. The usual gentle hum that Lumina sprites emitted, a sound so soft it was more felt than heard, was absent. It was silent, and its silence was clearly a sign of distress, of a life force fading. Elara's heart ached. This tiny creature was suffering from the same silence that plagued the world. Gently she knelt, reaching out a careful finger. The Lumina sprite twitched, its tiny antennae quivering, but it did not try to flee. It seemed too weak. With the utmost care, Elara began to untangle the thorny vines from the Lumina sprite's delicate wings. The thorns were sharp, pricking her fingers, but she barely noticed. Her focus was entirely on the fragile creature. As the last vine released its hold, the Lumina sprite lay still on her palm, its light barely a flicker. Then, an instinct took hold of Elara. She remembered the old stories of how Lumina sprites communicated, not just through sound, but through the resonance of their light. They responded to harmony, to the gentle flow of energy. Without thinking, she reached for her flute. Holding the Lumina sprite carefully in the cup of her left hand, she brought the flute to her lips with her right. She didn't know what tune to play. She simply closed her eyes and thought of the Whis, of the comforting hum it used to bring, of the soft lullabies her mother sang, of the gentle rustle of leaves in the summer breeze. She thought of sound, of life, of hope. She breathed, and a single, pure note, clear as a drop of dew, floated into the misty air. It wasn't loud, but in the profound silence of the mire, it resonated, echoing softly against the ancient trees. The Lumina sprite on her palm stirred. Its iridescent body pulsed once, then twice, and its wings began to glow a fraction brighter. Elara played another note, then another, weaving them into a simple, heartfelt melody. It was a tune born of longing and hope, a song for the lost Whis. As the melody unfolded, a miraculous change occurred. The Lumina sprite's light intensified, becoming a steady, vibrant glow. Its tiny body vibrated, and then, so faintly Elara almost missed it, a whisper of sound emerged from it, a tiny, delicate hum, like the distant buzz of a bumblebee. It was the Lumina sprite's song, its life force returning. With a joyful flutter, the Lumina sprite lifted from Elara's palm, circling her head once, its light casting dancing patterns on the mist. Then, it zipped away, not into the open mire, but towards a particularly large ancient cypress tree, whose roots plunged deep into the mire's murky waters. Elara watched, mesmerized. The Lumina sprite paused at the base of the cypress, its light pulsing as if communicating. Then it turned, its glow beckoning her. A faint whisper, carried on a breath of mire air, seemed to reach Elara's ears. It wasn't the Whis, not yet, but it was something. It was a voice, old and deep as the mire itself. "Come closer, child of keen ears, your music is a balm to my ancient heart." Elara's eyes widened. She had never heard a tree speak, though the old stories sometimes mentioned such wonders. Cautiously, she approached the colossal cypress. Its bark was gnarled and thick, draped with moss and ancient ferns. It felt as if generations of stories were etched into its very being. As she drew near, a section of the bark, previously indistinguishable from the rest, seemed to shift. A hollow, dark as pitch, opened into the tree's trunk, revealing a small glowing cavity within. The Lumina sprite zipped inside. Hesitantly, Elara peered into the opening. The cavity was not dark, but filled with a soft, warm light, emanating from countless Lumina sprites clustered together, their tiny hums creating a faint collective whisper. This was a sanctuary, a haven for the creatures of sound and light. At the very center of the cavity, nestled amongst the Lumina sprites, was a smooth round stone, the color of twilight and etched with swirling, intricate patterns. It pulsed with a faint, steady light, not unlike the luminous sprites themselves, but deeper, older. "This is the heartstone of the mire," the ancient tree's voice rumbled, echoing from the hollow. "It is a place where the Whis once gathered, a nexus of sound that nourished all life within these waters and beyond. But as the Whis began to fade, so too did the heartstone's song, and with it, the strength of my luminous sprites." Elara felt a thrill of discovery. She had found a source, a clue. "What happened to the Whis?" she asked, her voice a small, hopeful whisper in the vast silence. "It is not a simple fading, little one," the cypress responded, its voice tinged with a deep sorrow. "The Whis is not merely a sound. It is the fundamental resonance of our world, the very weave of existence. It is the silent song that holds everything together, and it is being unraveled, thread by thread, by the great silence." "The great silence?" Elara repeated, a chill running through her. "Yes. An ancient, destructive force that desires absolute quiet, the cessation of all sound, all life. It has been dormant for ages, a faint threat in the distant reaches of the world. But now, it stirs. It sends out tendrils of silence, absorbing the Whis, devouring its song." The tree paused, and Elara felt a profound sadness emanate from it. "It began with the smallest sounds, the morning dew dropping, the rustle of a beetle's wing, then the laughter of children, the songs of birds, the gentle hum of the wind. Now even the great rivers flow without their rush, and the mountains stand without their echo." Elara clutched her flute. "But I heard you," she said, looking around. "And the luminous sprites, they're humming again. Your music, child, holds a unique resonance. It did not merely mimic the Whis, it awakened a memory of it, a deep chord within the heartstone. It resonated with the essence of what the Whis truly is, not just its sound, but its spirit. This is why the luminous sprites responded. You touched the core of the song, not just its surface." The ancient cypress paused again, and Elara felt a strange pressure in the air, a sense of immense thought. "There are 3 great resonators in this world, places where the Whis is most potent, where its song is woven into the very fabric of existence. The heartstone of the mire is one, but it is weakened, its voice almost extinguished. To fully awaken it, to make it sing again, you must gather the echoes of its sisters." "Sisters?" "Sisters?" Elara asked, her mind racing. This was bigger than she could have imagined. "Yes, in the far north, amidst the frozen peaks, lies the crystal veins of the whispering ascent. And in the searing heart of the southern deserts, hidden beneath shifting sands, is the sunken oasis of reverberation. Each is a unique key, holding a different facet of the Whis' grand symphony. To rekindle the world's song, you must visit all 3, and with your unique music, reawaken their dormant melodies." Elara felt a surge of both terror and wonder. The north, the south, these were journeys of unimaginable distance, through lands she had only heard about in fantastical tales. But the urgency in the tree's voice, the dimming light of the luminous sprites, the oppressive silence of the world around her, it solidified her resolve. "How will I find them?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly, but firm. "The heartstone, though weakened, can offer a faint guide. Touch it, child, and let its memory flow into you." Elara hesitated for only a moment, then reached her hand into the hollow of the cypress. Her fingers brushed against the smooth, cool surface of the heartstone. As she made contact, a wave of sensation washed over her. It wasn't a sound, not exactly, but a feeling of profound melody, a complex tapestry of light and shadow, of earth and water, of growth and decay. She felt the ancient pulse of the mire, the gentle lapping of its waters, the slow, rhythmic breath of the earth. And within that, she felt a faint, shimmering thread, like a silver cord stretching out, leading north, then south. It was a map, etched not in lines, but in pure, resonant feeling. When she withdrew her hand, the world seemed both clearer and more daunting. She now knew her path, but the enormity of the task weighed heavily. "The journey will be perilous," the cypress warned, its voice softer now, almost a sigh. "The great silence will seek to impede you, to snuff out your melody before it can bloom. But remember, Elara, even the smallest song can create the greatest echo. And you are not alone." As if to emphasize its words, A single lumina sprite, its light now strong and steady, zipped out of the hollow and settled gently on Elara's shoulder. It pulsed with a soft, comforting glow, and Elara felt a tiny, almost imperceptible hum against her ear. It was a companion, a tiny beacon of hope. "Thank you," Elara whispered to the ancient cypress, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for telling me." "Go now, child," the tree responded. "The north awaits. Seek the crystal veins, and remember the Whis is not just sound. It is joy. It is sorrow. It is the beat of every heart. The flight of every dream. It is life itself. Do not despair if the silence grows. For within you, the memory of its song burns bright." With a renewed sense of purpose, Elara turned away from the ancient cypress and the shimmering heartstone. The lumina sprite on her shoulder glowed steadily, a warm, soft presence. The mist of the sunken mire still clung to the air, but now it felt less oppressive, less silent. She could still feel the faint shimmering thread of the heartstone's guidance, pulling her towards the north, towards the first of the great resonators. The sun was higher now, its pale light struggling to pierce the mire's perpetual gloom. Elara knew the journey ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. She would face the vastness of the world, the terrifying reach of the great silence, and her own fears. But she also carried a new resolve, a tiny humming companion, and a flute that had tasted the memory of the world's true song. Her heart, once pounding with fear and exhilaration, now pulsed with a steady, quiet determination. She had a quest, a purpose, and a glimmer of hope that she could, somehow, bring the song back to the world. She adjusted her satchel, took a deep breath of the damp, cool air and stepped out of the sunken mire, her eyes fixed on the distant, silent horizon. The Whis was calling and she was answering, one courageous step at a time. The world was waiting for her song. The world beyond the sunken mire was not barren, but unnervingly muted. Colors, Elara noticed, seemed softer here, as if the very vibrancy of the land had been leached away by the silence. The emerald of distant hills was faded, the blue of the sky a paler wash, and the earth beneath her feet, though fertile, lacked the rich, resonant hues she dimly remembered from stories. Wind stirred the tall grasses, but there was no rustle, only the visual sweep of movement, unsettling in its soundless grace. Rivers flowed like liquid glass, their currents visible, their passage unheard, carving silent paths through the landscape. Elara walked, her steps falling with a soft, almost imperceptible white-tug on the damp earth. The quiet was a heavy cloak, draped over everything, muffling not just external sound but threatening to steal the very echo of her own thoughts. It was a pervasive absence, a deep, aching void where the world's true song should have been. Her heart, however, still pulsed with that steady, quiet determination. She had learned in the mire to listen with more than her ears. She listened with her skin, for the subtle shiver of unseen currents, with her breath, for the faint elusive scent of ancient magic, and most importantly with her heart, for the almost imperceptible bawl of the Whis. It wasn't a sound, but a resonance, a memory of harmony that tugged at her soul, guiding her like an invisible thread. Days blurred into a quiet march. She passed through ancient winding paths that seemed to lead nowhere, their silence so profound it felt like a presence, a watchful, sorrowful spirit. It was in one of these hushed glades that she encountered her first true test. A creature no larger than her palm with wings like stained glass fluttered listlessly near a patch of faded wildflowers. Its scales shimmered with once bright hues, now dull and muted. It was a glimmering, a species known for its vibrant chirps and effervescent light shows, but this one emitted no sound, only a faint, struggling pulse of light. It seemed to be absorbing the ambient magic, or rather, the lacking of it, contributing to the pervasive silence around it, slowly fading itself. Elara knelt, her shadow falling gently over the creature. It did not flee, merely tilted its head, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the muted light. She reached out a finger, hesitant, and lightly touched one of its delicate wings. A faint warmth, a spark of the song's memory, passed from her to the glimmerwing. Its scales brightened, just for a moment, a fleeting flash of emerald and sapphire. A tiny, almost imperceptible, ye-chirp escaped its throat, so faint she might have imagined it, but the creature shivered, as if remembering a long-forgotten joy. It then darted away, its light a little stronger, its flight a little more purposeful. Elara watched it go, a quiet hope blooming in her chest. Her connection, her ability to stir the memory of the song, was real. She adjusted her satchel, took a deep breath, and continued, following the silent pull deeper into the heart of the world. The land slowly began to rise, the muted grasslands giving way to rolling hills, then to the jagged silhouettes of distant, silent mountains. Before them, however, stretched a vast ancient forest, its canopy a dark, unbroken expanse of muted green. This was the Whispering Woods, though no whisper could be heard within its depths. The trees here were gargantuan, their trunks wider than any she had ever seen, their bark gnarled and silvered with age. Their leaves, thick and leathery, hung like dark, still velvet, absorbing all light and sound. The air beneath the canopy was thick with the scent of damp earth, decaying leaves and old wood. A profound, almost sacred stillness reigned, broken only by the soft hit-a-dee of a falling leaf or the distant, unheard cry of some unseen forest creature. Deep within this silent labyrinth, Elara found her. Lyra. Cole. She was a dryad, a spirit so deeply intertwined with the woods that her form shimmered like heat haze, barely visible against the rough bark of her ancient mother tree. Lyra was almost catatonic from the silence, her face a mask of profound sorrow, her eyes wide and unseeing, staring into the silent void. Her hair, usually a cascade of vibrant green leaves and blooming flowers, was now a tangled mass of dull, faded foliage. Elara approached cautiously, her heart aching for the suffering spirit. She knew that dryads lived and breathed the rhythm of their forests, and in this quieted world, Lyra was dying a slow, soundless death. Elara reached out, not to touch, but to offer. She focused, drawing upon that inner wellspring of determination and hope, the memory of the world's true song that pulsed within her. She projected her intent, her yearning for harmony, her deep understanding of the song's importance, directly towards Lyra. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint tremor ran through Lyra's shimmering form. Her eyes, unfocused, slowly turned towards Elara. A sigh, like the sound of wind through a distant, forgotten valley, escaped her lips, though no sound truly manifested. It was a sigh felt, not heard. "You carry a whisper." Lyra's voice resonated in Elara's mind, a quiet, ancient echo, not a sound in the air. A memory, so faint, so precious. Elara explained her quest, her journey from the sunken mire, the calling of the Whis. Lyra listened, her ethereal form seeming to solidify slightly with each word, each projected thought. "The Whis," Lyra finally responded, her mental voice gaining a touch of sorrowful clarity, "is not a single entity, child. It is the heartbeat of the world's song, dispersed, scattered like starlight across the silent lands. Only a pure heart, one that remembers the song not with its ears but with its soul, can gather its scattered fragments and reawaken its melody." Lyra spoke of the echoing peaks, a range of silent mountains where memories of the song lingered in ancient stone, and the luminous caves, rumored to be the very source of the Whis' scattered essence. "The path through this forest is treacherous," Lyra warned. "The root labyrinth will try to disorient you, to steal your hope and silence your spirit, but you carry the light. Let it guide you." With a trembling hand, Lyra reached into her own faded hair and plucked a single, unopened bud. It was a silent bloom, a flower that would never unfurl its petals, for its beauty lay not in outward display, but in its inner light. The bud pulsed with a faint internal luminescence, a soft warm glow that belied its silent nature. "This," Lyra whispered into Elara's mind, "will guide you through the deepest shadows, and serve as your compass towards stronger whispers of the song." Elara took the silent bloom, its warmth a comforting presence in her palm. With a grateful nod to Lyra, whose form was already beginning to fade back into the tree's silent embrace, Elara ventured deeper into the Whispering Woods. The root labyrinth was a true test. Ancient, gnarled roots, thicker than Elara's waist, crisscrossed the forest floor, forming a bewildering maze. Overhead, the canopy was so dense that only slivers of light pierced through, creating shifting patterns of shadow that played tricks on her eyes. The silence here was absolute, a heavy, suffocating blanket that pressed down, trying to extinguish her inner spark. She felt the urge to simply sit, to give in to the quiet, to let her thoughts drift into oblivion. But the silent bloom in her hand pulsed steadily, its soft light a beacon in the gloom. It didn't just illuminate the path. It seemed to resonate with the faint, almost imperceptible whispers of the song that Lyra had spoken of. Elara closed her eyes for a moment, letting her other senses take over. She felt the vibrations of the earth, subtle shifts in the air currents, the faint scent of unseen moss. She learned to trust her intuition, to follow the gentle pull that the bloom amplified, a soft magnetic guidance towards the true path. Each step was deliberate, each turn chosen not by sight but by an inner knowing. Hours stretched into a timeless journey, until finally, the roots began to thin, the canopy overhead lightened, and Elara emerged, blinking, onto the forest's edge. Beyond the whispering woods, the land rose dramatically into a range of jagged, silent mountains. These were the echoing peaks, and their name was a cruel irony, for no sound, no echo, bounced from their stark, imposing faces. The wind whipped through the high passes, visible in the way it tore at Elara's cloak, but it carried no howl, no whistle, only a profound, heavy silence. The landscape was breathtaking in its desolation. Colossal rock formations sculpted by millennia of wind and unseen ice, vast scree slopes of loose stone, and the occasional hardy, wind-stunted pine clinging precariously to a cliff face. Everything was muted, shades of gray and ochre, with only the distant sky offering a hint of faded blue. Elara began her ascent. The silent bloom still clutched in her hand, its light now a faint, steady pulse against the mountain's darkness. The air grew thinner, colder, and the silence here was different again. Not the deep, ancient quiet of the forest, but a vast, empty stillness, as if the very mountains held their breath. As she climbed higher, she began to discover traces of an ancient civilization. Abandoned settlements, carved directly into the mountainsides, their doorways gaping silently, their windows like unseeing eyes. These, she knew from Lyra's whispers, belonged to the Stone Singers, a race of beings who, long ago, had not merely mined the mountains, but had sung them into shape. Their cities were not built, but harmonized, each stone humming with a specific frequency, each cavern a resonant chamber. Now, only the silence remained. She found him in a deep, sheltered valley, hidden amongst a cluster of crumbling stone dwellings. He was the last living stone singer, his form lean and weathered like the mountains themselves, his face a roadmap of ancient sorrows. He sat cross-legged before a slab of uncarved granite, his gnarled hands moving with infinite slowness, carving intricate, silent runes into its surface. His voice, when he finally spoke, was a raspy whisper, from disuse more than age. Another seeker of the song, Kale rumbled, his eyes, the color of ancient slate, fixed on Elara. He saw the silent bloom, its faint light reflecting in his gaze. Few come this far, fewer still carry the true heart whisper. Elara told him of her journey, of the sunken mire and the whispering woods, of Lyra and the quest to restore the world's song. Kale listened, his movements ceasing, his gaze distant, as if searching for a forgotten melody in the silent peaks. The great silence fell like a hammer, he recounted, his mental voice a deep, resonant rumble that echoed in Elara's own mind. It was not merely the sound that vanished, child. The song was the eye vibration that held all of reality together. The hum of the earth, the pulse of the stars, the very resonance that gave form to stone and flow to water. When it faded, the world began to unravel, slowly, subtly. The Whis, as you call it, is not a place or a being. It is a convergence point where these scattered vibrations can be reknitted, where the fundamental notes of existence can be restruck. Kale challenged Elara. To find the Whis, you must first learn to hear the silence, not merely endure its absence, but to perceive the potential within it. In the heart of these mountains, there is a resonant chamber, a place where the memory of the vibrations is strongest. You must find it, and there, awaken the ancient resonance crystals. Only then will you truly hear the Whis. He led her through a labyrinth of silent tunnels, deep into the mountain's core. The air grew heavy with the scent of mineral and ancient magic. They arrived in a vast circular cavern, its walls etched with forgotten runes, its ceiling arching high into the gloom. In the center stood 3 enormous crystals, each taller than Elara, dull and lifeless, their surfaces reflecting no light. These are the resonance crystals, Kale explained. They once amplified the world's song, allowing us stone singers to shape these peaks with our voices. Now they sleep. You must awaken them, not with sound, but with the intent of the song. Elara approached the first crystal, its cold, smooth surface pressing against her palm. She closed her eyes, clearing her mind of all doubt, all fear. She reached deep within herself for that quiet detonation, that pulsing memory of harmony she carried. She focused her will, her yearning, imagining the silent notes of the song flowing from her heart, through her hand, into the crystal. She poured every ounce of her being into that silent intention. For a long moment, nothing. Then a faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated through the crystal. It was not a sound Elara heard with her ears, but a vibration felt deep within her bones, a fundamental note of existence. The crystal's dull surface shimmered, catching the ambient light, and a faint internal glow began to pulse within its depths. Encouraged, Elara moved to the second, then the third. With each one the process became easier, her connection stronger. The hum grew, still imperceptible to the ear, but a powerful resonant vibration that filled the chamber, shaking the very stone beneath her feet. The crystals pulsed with a soft ethereal light, illuminating the ancient runes on the cavern walls. Kale, standing silent witness, let out a shaky breath. His old eyes, usually so stoic, were wet. "A lullaby," he rasped, his voice a barely audible whisper. "I remember, a fragment of a lullaby my mother sang." Before the silence, a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor of sound escaped his throat, a low guttural murmur that was less sound and more a memory of it. It was not the song, but it was a beginning. He approached Elara, his hand trembling as he reached into a hidden pouch on his belt. He extracted a small polished fragment of a crystal, no bigger than her thumb. It hummed faintly in his hand, a tiny echo of the larger resonance crystals. "This is a whisper shard," he said, pressing it into Elara's palm. "It will guide you. It vibrates with the nearest concentration of the song's memory. It will lead you from these peaks, down into the hidden valley, towards the luminous caves. That is where the Whis awaits, child. Go now, and may your song find its way home." Elara descended from the echoing peaks, the whisper shard warm and faintly vibrating in her hand. The landscape began to change, the harsh rock giving way to gentler slopes, then to a hidden valley shrouded in a mysterious mist. Here, the signs of magic returning were subtle but undeniable. Faint glows flickered in the mist. Plants seemed to lean towards her as she passed, their leaves unfurling slightly. The air grew warmer, humid, and carried the scent of mineral and ancient, living magic. The whispers of the song grew stronger now, not as sound but as an undeniable magnetic pull in her very core, a yearning that resonated with every beat of her heart. The whisper shard pulsed with an increasing intensity, its faint hum now a steady thrum against her skin, pointing directly towards a sheer cliff face that rose from the valley floor. There, almost invisible until the whisper shard flared with a brilliant internal light, was a hidden fissure in the rock, the entrance to the luminous caves. Elara stepped inside. The air was thick, warm and humid, smelling of damp earth, rich minerals, and ancient, powerful magic. The caves were indeed luminous, glowing with a soft, otherworldly light that emanated from unseen sources. Crystals, far more vibrant than the sleeping giants in the peaks, hung like silent chandeliers from the ceiling, their facets shimmering with internal radiance. Water dripped from stalactites with a soft liquid plinkwing, the first true sound she had heard in weeks, a sound that resonated deep within her, echoing the pulse of her own blood. She was very close. The silence here was different, not oppressive or empty but expectant, pregnant with potential. It was a silence that held its breath, waiting. As she walked deeper into the labyrinthine passages, guided by the now intensely glowing whisper shard, Elara began to hear it. Not the world's song, not yet, but a truly internal sound, a profound amplification of her own being, the steady rhythmic pulse of her own heart, resonating with something deep within the very core of the cave. It was her song, connecting to the world's waiting heart. At the end of a long winding cavern she saw it. A shimmering veil of light, rippling and dancing with colors she hadn't seen in their true vibrancy since leaving the sunken mire. Beyond it, a profound, resonant hum, a vibration that promised more than mere sound. It promised the very essence of existence, the heartbeat of the world. Her quest, her true journey, was about to begin. She adjusted her satchel, took a deep, steadying breath, and stepped towards the shimmering veil. The world dissolved around her in a breath of cool, sweet air, like plunging into a cloud made of starlight and song. For a moment, she was everywhere and nowhere, a whisper of thought amidst a symphony of silent colors. Then, with a gentle yi-pa-pow like a dewdrop bursting, she was standing on solid ground once more, though it was unlike any ground she had ever known. It was not earth, nor rock, nor the soft, yielding muck of the sunken mire. It was a mosaic of emerald light, woven with threads of sapphire and gold, gently pulsating beneath her feet. Above, a sky of deep amethyst swirled with nebulae of luminous dust, where distant star-like motes drifted like sleepy fireflies. Great ancient trees, taller than any she had ever imagined, pierced this cosmic firmament. Their trunks were not bark and wood, but crystalline structures that pulsed with an inner glow, their branches stretching like grand ethereal arms, bearing leaves that shimmered with the gentle iridescence of a dragonfly's wing. This was the root-heart expanse, the place where the very arteries of existence met and intertwined. A profound quiet enveloped her, not an emptiness, but a stillness so deep it felt like a listening. Yet, beneath the quiet, she could feel it, the resonant hum, now clearer, more vital. It wasn't a sound heard with ears, but felt in the hollow of her bones, a gentle thrumming that was the very pulse of the world. It was a lullaby, a heartbeat, a promise. As she took her first hesitant steps, the emerald ground beneath her feet brightened with each touch, leaving a faint, lingering echo of light. The air itself tasted of ozone and ancient wisdom, clean and sweet. She had expected to feel overwhelmed, perhaps even frightened, but instead, a profound sense of belonging settled upon her. This place felt like a dream she had forgotten she'd had, a melody she had always known. Following the internal thrum, she walked deeper into the luminal forest, as she decided to call it. The crystalline trees grew denser, their glowing branches forming natural archways that dripped with soft bioluminescent moss. Tiny, winged creatures, no bigger than her thumb, zipped past, leaving trails of golden dust. These were the glimmer flies, the nimble messengers and playful spirits of the expanse. They seemed curious but unafraid, often spiraling around her head before darting off with a cheerful flicker. After what felt like an age, though time here seemed to flow differently, she came to a clearing. In its center, nestled amongst the roots of the grandest crystalline tree she had yet seen, sat a being unlike any she had encountered. It was vast, ancient, and composed of living moss and woven light. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but its skin was a tapestry of emerald and silver, its eyes like pools of deep, knowing starlight. This was the Elder Moskin, the venerable guardian of the root-heart expanse. Its voice, when it spoke, was like the rustling of old leaves mixed with the gentle chime of crystal bells. "Welcome, little seeker from the sunken mire. We have been awaiting your courage." She bowed her head, a gesture of respect learned from the ancient tales. "Elder Moskin, I have followed the call. I seek the heartbeat of the world, the essence that promises life and vibrancy." The Elder Moskin's starlit eyes seemed to gaze not just at her, but through her, into the very core of her being. "The heartbeat is here, child. It is the very foundation of this expanse and indeed of your world and all others connected by the weave of magic. But its pulse has grown faint. Its song, once a vibrant chorus, has dwindled to a whisper." "The sunken mire," she said, her voice laced with sadness. "It has become dim and cold. My people are losing hope." "Indeed." The Elder Moskin sighed, a sound like wind through ancient boughs. "The Maya's fading is but an echo of the Heartstone's slumber. For eons, the great Heartstone has pulsed, sending life-giving energy through the ethereal roots that connect all realms. But the whispers of doubt, the shadows of neglect, and the forgotten melodies of kindness have slowly veiled its light. It does not die, but it sleeps, and its dreams grow thin." "Can it be reawakened?" she asked, her own heart quickening with a renewed sense of purpose. "It can," the Elder Moskin affirmed. "But not by force, nor by magic alone. The Heartstone responds to the purest of intentions, to the clarity of spirit, and to the rediscovered melody of hope within a brave heart. You have journeyed far, little one, You have overcome the shadows of your own fears and the despair of your home. These are the first notes of its reawakening. What must I do? You must find the great heartstone itself. It lies at the very center of the expanse, deep within the roots of this luminal forest. But the path is not merely physical. It is a journey of understanding. You must learn to listen to the expanse, to feel its rhythm, to understand its language. The glimmerflies will show you the way, but only if you truly open your heart to their silent guidance. With a gentle nod, the elder Moskin faded slightly, its form becoming more ethereal, a part of the shimmering air. Go, little seeker. The time is now. Let your hope be your lantern. She turned, and indeed a swarm of glimmerflies had gathered, circling excitedly, their golden trails forming a swirling spiral that pointed deeper into the forest. Taking a deep breath, she followed. The path the glimmerflies led her on was not a straight one. It wound through groves of humming, crystalline flora that seemed to glow in response to her presence. Some plants pulsed with soft blue light, others with vibrant crimson, and they hummed with individual melodies that, when combined, created a complex, soothing symphony. She learned to step carefully, to appreciate the delicate balance of light and sound. At one point, the path led to a chasm, not of darkness, but of swirling luminous mist. The glimmerflies darted into it fearlessly, beckoning her. Hesitantly, she followed. The mist swirled around her, cool and fragrant. For a moment she felt disoriented, as if her thoughts were drifting like leaves on a gentle breeze. But then she remembered the elder Moskin's words. The heart stone responds to the purest of intentions, to the clarity of spirit. She focused on her unwavering desire to help her home, to bring back the light to the sunken mire. As her intention solidified, the mist parted, revealing a bridge of solidified starlight, shimmering and firm beneath her feet. It was not magic she encountered, but magic she halidoi. Further on she encountered the echo trees. These were not crystalline but made of solidified sound, their branches resonating with soft, forgotten melodies. The glimmerflies flew among them, playfully mimicking the tunes. She tried to hum along, at first a little off-key, but gradually, by truly listening, she found the right pitch, the perfect harmony. As she did, the echo trees around her brightened, their melodies growing clearer, more joyful. This was the language the elder Moskin spoke of, not words, but resonance, harmony, and connection. She learned to greet the gentle, translucent creatures of the expanse, the whisper weavers who spun gossamer threads of starlight, and the dream moths with wings like stained glass, who carried the quiet thoughts of the sleeping world. She offered them small, silent salutations, and in return they would shimmer brighter, their presence a comforting affirmation. Her satchel, once a repository of provisions for a physical journey, now held only the light of her growing understanding and the warmth of her quiet hope. Finally, after what felt like days or perhaps mere hours, the glimmerflies led her to the deepest part of the luminal forest. Here, the crystalline trees were truly colossal, their roots forming a vast, intricate cathedral of light. At the very heart of this living architecture, resting on a cushion of luminous moss, was the great heartstone. It was breathtakingly beautiful, yet undeniably subdued. It was a gem of immense size, multifaceted like a colossal diamond, but not of any single color. Instead, it held within its depths a swirling galaxy of muted hues, faint blues, greens, and purples, like a dream seen through a veil. It pulsed, but weakly, like a tired heart, struggling to beat. The resonant hum she had felt since stepping through the veil was strongest here, a deep, persistent thrum that barely trembled the ground. The glimmerflies settled around the heartstone, their golden lights dimming in reverence. Silence fell, profound and absolute, broken only by the faint, struggling pulse of the stone. She approached it slowly, her footsteps barely making a sound on the mossy ground. Reaching out a trembling hand, she hesitated. What could she, a small person from a forgotten corner of the world, possibly do to awaken such a fundamental force? Then she remembered. The elder Moskin's words. It responds to the purest of intentions, to the clarity of spirit, and to the rediscovered melody of hope within a brave heart. She didn't need a spell, or a ritual, or a powerful artifact. She needed herself. Closing her eyes, she thought of the sunken Maya. She remembered the dim light, the quiet despair of her people. But then, she thought of the spark of hope that had made her embark on this journey. She remembered the beauty of the mire before it faded, the gentle lapping of its waters, the unique luminescence of its flora, the camaraderie of her village. She focused on the love she held for her home, the deep, abiding wish for its healing, for its return to vibrancy. She placed her hand gently upon the surface of the great heartstone. It felt cool, smooth, and incredibly ancient beneath her palm. As her touch connected, she felt a faint tremor, like a sleeping giant stirring. Then, she began to hum. It wasn't a complex tune, but the simple, comforting lullaby her own mother used to sing to her. It was a melody of warmth, of safety, of love. As her hum filled the silent cathedral, a faint shimmer spread across the heartstone's surface. The muted colors within began to deepen, to glow with a little more intensity. Encouraged, she let her heart pour into the song. She thought of every kind word she had ever heard, every gentle touch, every moment of shared joy. She thought of the courage it took to leave home, the resilience to face the unknown, the wonder of discovering new realms. She wasn't just humming, she was singing the song of her own journey, of her own hope, of the interconnectedness of all things. As her song grew stronger, so did the heartstone's light. The faint blues deepened into sapphire, the greens into emerald, the purples into amethyst. Swirls of gold and silver began to appear, chasing each other across its surface like playful currents. The gentle thrumming beneath her feet intensified, growing into a steady, powerful thump, 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 a heartbeat vibrant and strong. The glimmer flies around her burst into a flurry of golden light, their trails weaving intricate patterns in the air, a celebratory dance. The crystalline roots of the cathedral pulsed with renewed vigor, sending waves of brilliant light through the entire luminal forest. From the depths of the expanse, she could hear the gentle chime of the echo trees, now singing in full clear harmony. She opened her eyes, tears of wonder and relief brimming. The great heartstone was awake. Its light was now blindingly beautiful, radiating outward in waves of pure, life-giving energy. It wasn't just glowing, it was singing, a silent, resonant song that permeated every fiber of her being. As the heartstone pulsed with its full power, she felt a warmth spread from her hand, through her arm, and into her chest. It wasn't just her heart beating, it was the world's heart, now strong and true, beating in unison with her own. She felt a profound connection, a knowing that she was part of something vast and ancient, a single thread in the boundless tapestry of existence. She slowly withdrew her hand, the warmth lingering like a gentle blessing. The heartstone continued its magnificent display, its light pouring forth, a beacon of life. She knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that its revitalized energy was now flowing through the ethereal roots, reaching out to every realm, including her beloved sunken Maya. The healing had begun. Turning, she saw the elder Moskin standing at the edge of the clearing once more, its form now brighter, more substantial, its starlit eyes shining with profound gratitude. "You have done well, little seeker. You have reminded the heartstone of the pure light it holds, and in doing so, you have rekindled the hope in countless realms." "Will the sunken Maya be well again?" she asked, her voice soft with renewed hope. "The light has returned," the elder Moskin affirmed. "The roots are nourished. The Maya will slowly, gently awaken. Its unique beauty will return, perhaps even more vibrant than before, for it will carry the memory of your courage and the strength of the heartstone's song." She felt a deep peace settle over her, a quiet completeness. Her journey was truly finished. She had not found a magical artifact to bring back, nor had she simply asked for a wish. She had in fact become the conduit for the wish itself, the vessel for hope and connection. The elder Moskin gestured towards a shimmering portal that had appeared nearby, a smaller, gentler version of the veil she had stepped through. "The path home awaits if you wish it, or you may stay and learn more of the expanse." She looked back at the magnificent, pulsating heartstone, then at the beckoning portal. The root-heart expanse was wondrous, but her heart yearned for the familiar, for the gentle lapping of the mire's waters, for the faces of her people. She had a new story to tell, a new hope to share. "I will return home," she said, a soft smile gracing her lips, "to share the song of the heartstone." With a final respectful bow to the elder Moskin, and a silent farewell to the dancing glimmerflies, she stepped through the shimmering portal. The transition was as gentle as before, a soft breath of cool air. In an instant, she was back in the long, winding cavern, the air now feeling strangely familiar, almost comforting. She walked the path she had come, her steps light and purposeful. As she emerged from the cavern and into the familiar, if still somewhat dim, landscape of the sunken mire, she noticed a change. The air felt a little warmer. The peculiar, bioluminescent plants of her home seemed to glow with a slightly increased intensity. A faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated beneath her feet, the distant echo of the Heartstone's newfound strength. She looked towards her village, a cluster of glowing dwellings in the distance. She knew it would take time. The mire would not transform overnight. But the seed of hope had been planted, nurtured by her courage and watered by the Heartstone's song. As she walked home, the faint hum of the world's heartbeat resonated within her own chest, a comforting reminder that the magic was real, that connection was powerful, and that even the smallest, bravest heart could help rekindle the light of an entire world. She was tired, but not weary. Her satchel was empty, but her spirit was full. She carried no grand treasure, but she carried the greatest gift of all, the living, vibrant song of hope, ready to be shared with her waiting heart. And as she finally reached her village, ready to tell her tale, she knew that the sunken mire would indeed, gently, begin to rise again. And she would be there, a beacon of its renewed light.